Carver's body was found 3 miles from the perimeter fence, according to the official report. However, what it didn't include were the details that mattered. His eyes had been replaced with something like black marble, and his tongue had been surgically removed while he was still alive. Worst of all, it failed to mention the equations etched into his skin, the very same ones we had discovered beneath level 7 just 2 weeks prior. I should explain things from the start. My name is Thomas Miller. Up until 8 months ago, I was the lead security coordinator at what the government officially calls the Groom Lake Testing Facility, though the public knows it as Area 51. By writing this, I am breaking my non-disclosure agreement. But frankly, I doubt I'll be alive long enough for them to take action. The nosebleeds began 3 days ago, and this morning, I found the first black mark behind my ear. Just like the others, I enlisted in the Air Force at 22, served 2 tours, and eventually earned a position at Groom Lake, thanks to an offer from someone important. The salary was exceptional, and the work was classified. After 15 years, I thought I had seen everything the base had to offer. I had witnessed experimental aircraft that could disappear from radar, weapons capable of incapacitating targets without leaving a trace, and psychological research that made MKUltra seem like a high school project. But even I was unprepared for what we uncovered beneath level 7 last year. Most personnel at Groom Lake work on a strict need-to-know basis. The base is divided into sectors and clearance levels, and employees typically know little about what happens beyond their own area. I was one of the few with access to nearly every part of the facility, overseeing security protocols and managing transfers between divisions. There were plenty of rumors, of course. Some people believed we were housing alien technology from the Roswell crash, while others thought we were experimenting with time manipulation or human subjects. But the truth was, as usual, both far less and infinitely more terrifying than the rumors. The day everything changed started like any other in the Nevada desert. The sun rose over Bald Mountain, casting its orange and gold glow across the barren landscape. I parked my government-issued SUV in the employee lot, scanned my badge, and went through the usual biometric checks. Dr. Alan Webb was already waiting for me in my office, a brilliant physicist who led the Advanced Theoretical Research Division. Webb's intelligence was matched only by his arrogance. His presence in my office was unusual enough to raise alarms. Miller, he greeted me, bypassing any formalities. I need you to authorize a security team for Level 7, Section C. That was my first red flag. Section C had been sealed off for decades, long before either of us had joined the facility. On whose authority? I asked, reviewing the access request. Director Harmon's. We've detected, he paused, choosing his words carefully, anomalous readings. They matched the calculations from Project Threshold. That was my second red flag. Project Threshold had been discontinued in 1989 following an incident no one spoke about, one that cost 12 lives and led to an entire wing being permanently sealed off. I never should have signed that authorization. I should have pressed Webb for more details or insisted on speaking to Harmon directly. But after 15 years of following orders without question, old habits are hard to break. And so it began with a signature on a digital form, a decision that unknowingly set off a chain of events that would lead to 6 deaths, including Carver's, and an unprecedented discovery that would destroy everything I thought I knew about reality. I only wish I had known then what I understand now. Maybe I could have stopped it. Or perhaps it was always meant to happen. A sealed envelope slid across the table. If you insist on going back in there, Webb said, you must follow them. Exactly what rules? I asked. The only thing keeping contained, he said, rising from the seat, is what I've written here. Read them alone. Memorize them. Then destroy the paper. As he walked away, I noticed a small black mark behind his ear, the same mark I would later find on myself months later. Inside the envelope, I found a single sheet of paper, the ink faded and written in blue, containing 7 rules. Rules for approaching the threshold. 1. Never touch the surface with bare skin. 2. Do not remain within its presence for more than 60 minutes. 3. Never bring electronic recording devices within 10 feet. 4. Never look at your reflection in its surface for more than 3 seconds. 5. If you hear whispers, leave immediately. 6. If it shows you symbols or equations, do not attempt to transcribe them. 7. If you dream of it after exposure, report to medical immediately. At the bottom, a final warning. Breaking these rules allows it to recognize you. I should have fled right then. We all should have. But instead, like always, I followed orders and scheduled our return to Section C for 0800 hours the next day. The morning came too quickly. I spent most of the night memorizing Solomon's rules, then burned the paper in the sink as instructed. Sleep came in fitful bursts, interrupted by dreams of drifting in an endless black void. Not nightmares exactly, but unsettling enough to leave me drained. At the level 7 checkpoint, the team appeared just as worn. Webb's usual sharp appearance was disheveled, his eyes bloodshot. The 3 scientists huddled together, speaking in hushed tones while reviewing data on their tablets. Listen up, I announced, gathering everyone. We're implementing new protocols for this mission. I didn't mention Solomon or the list of rules. Instead, I framed the guidelines as standard security procedures based on preliminary findings. No direct contact with the anomaly surface. Full hazmat suits. Keep them sealed at all times. Exposure time limited to 60 minutes maximum. No phones, cameras, or recording devices past the corridor junction. Report any unusual phenomena, visual, auditory, or otherwise, immediately. Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. Unusual like what exactly? Like anything that doesn't belong. Wilcox answered before I could. Just stay alert. I added, we don't know what we're dealing with. Dr. Solomon arrived as we suited up, looking like he hadn't slept in days. He pulled me aside as the others prepared. Did you destroy it? He whispered. I nodded. Remember Rule 4? He pressed, his thin fingers digging into my arm. The reflection. 3 seconds. Count in your head. I'll handle it. I reassured him, uncomfortable with his intensity. Solomon glanced around nervously. Have you told the others? I've set up the safety measures, without explaining where they came from. Was that wrong? He shook his head. Numbering the source only makes it worse. Intentions matter, especially in relation to what's in there. Before I could ask what he meant, Webb called out that the team was ready. Solomon retreated without another word, watching us with eyes full of fear and envy. The return to Section C felt different. The corridor stretched on longer than usual, and the lights seemed dimmer, though everything read as normal. At the lab, I saw immediate changes. The black surface had expanded, nearly double its previous size. The line that once marked its boundary had vanished, and the wall material seemed raised, as if it were ready to reach out. Remarkable, Webb muttered, stepping closer with a sensor probe. It's grown without any visible energy source. Or it's been growing for decades, and we just opened the door, Dr. Burns suggested, maintaining a safe distance. Maintain a safe distance. I reminded everyone, especially Webb, whose fascination was clouding his caution. Tanner set up the monitoring equipment. Remote readings only, he confirmed. Nothing transmitting to or from the anomaly directly. The scientists began their work. Rodriguez and Wilcox stood by the door, Parker patrolled between observation points. 30 minutes passed. The anomaly remained still, though our instruments detected what Webb described as quantum fluctuations around its surface. At the 40-minute mark, Parker approached, looking visibly uneasy even through his hazmat suit. Sir, I don't like this, he said softly. There's something strange about the air in here. I knew exactly what he meant. Despite the filtered oxygen in our suits, the atmosphere felt thick, stifling. 20 more minutes, I said. Then we're out, no matter what. He nodded and resumed his patrol. as he walked near the black surface. He stopped, tilting his head as though listening. I was about to call out when he continued moving. At the 50-minute mark, it happened. Webb, who had been scanning the surface, suddenly froze. "It's showing us something," he said, his voice low with awe. I turned to look. The previously smooth black surface now displayed equations, complex mathematical formulas, shifting and rearranging like living things. "Do not copy that down," I ordered, recalling Rule 6. "But this is unprecedented," Michaels argued. "These equations, they're quantum gravity solutions we've been searching for." I said no transcription. I repeated firmly, "Observe only." Webb was mesmerized, his eyes fixed on his reflection in the surface. The equations flowed across it like liquid mercury. His reflected lips moved silently, as though trying to speak. "Dr. Webb," I called sharply, "step away from the anomaly." He didn't respond. "Webb," I shouted. I stepped closer. "You're breaking Rule 4. Look away now." When I mentioned the rule, he finally blinked and turned toward me, dazed, confused. "What did you say about rules?" Before I could respond, a soft, rhythmic whispering emanated from the black surface, a sound just at the edge of comprehension. Parker's form flickered as his smile grew wider, the distortion of his body making it hard to focus on his features. "You're being prepared, Miller. The architects chose you just like they chose Solomon. You're not like the others. The stone is an artifact, a tool meant to help you transcend the physical limitations of your existence. You're a part of something much greater now." I felt the weight of the stone in my hand. Its presence was undeniable, as if it were anchoring me to something far beyond my understanding. "You're changing, Miller," Parker continued, his voice almost hypnotic now. "The equations in your mind, they're only the beginning. Once you understand them, truly understand, the transition will be complete. The convergence will be inevitable, and you'll be ready." "But what about the others?" I asked, voice shaking despite my efforts to remain calm. "What happens to them? To those who aren't ready?" "The others?" Parker scoffed, his form flickering like a broken hologram. "They'll be left behind, Miller. You can't go back to a world that's no longer yours. The architects don't need them. They need the chosen, the ones who solve the equations, the ones who can understand the deeper truths." I took a step back, heart pounding. Everything felt surreal, the gravity of what Parker was saying sinking in like a lead weight. "And you're one of them now." Parker's eyes glinted, black as obsidian. "I've crossed over. You will too. It's the next stage. We're beyond the rules now, beyond the limitations of time and space. We've already begun. You'll see it soon, Miller." The whispers returned, louder now, wrapping themselves around my thoughts like tendrils of foreign language, urging me to listen, to understand. I raised the stone again, staring through it, and the world around me shifted. The walls of Section C were no longer solid. They twisted and folded, like the edges of a torn map, revealing a landscape that defied logic and reason. Parker's form was already dissolving into that same chaotic, fluid state, becoming part of the anomaly, a vessel for the architect's will. "You'll join us soon, Miller," he said, his voice a distant echo. "We'll break through, all of us. The convergence is inevitable. We'll change everything." As his voice faded, I lowered the stone. The landscape before me was no longer just a vision. It was real, alive, pulsating with the energy of 1,000 realities overlapping. The anomaly wasn't just a tear in space-time. It was a doorway, a gateway to something much older, far more powerful than anything I could have imagined. And I was standing at the threshold. The air grew thick with tension as Harmon and Rodriguez hurried to the override station, their boots echoing down the fractured corridors. Every second felt like an eternity, the countdown continuing unabated. Through the increasingly unstable environment, the rift between realities stretched wider, the air crackling with an energy that defied comprehension. Solomon remained by my side, his old face a mask of worry and awe. The equations, those maddening, brilliant sequences, still danced through my mind, now more coherent, more purposeful than before. The architects, if that's what they truly were far from invaders. They were refugees from a collapsing cosmos, beings whose existence depended on the very transformation that had begun inside me. "You were right," Solomon murmured, his voice barely audible over the chaos. "In '89, we didn't just stumble on an anomaly, we were meant to find it." I nodded, my thoughts swirling with the infinite possibilities that now unfolded before me. The boundaries of space and time had thinned so much that it was as if I could see the underlying structure of the universe itself. But that understanding, as incredible as it was, came at a cost. The transformation wasn't just physical, it was mental, a reshaping of what it meant to be human. "Do you feel it too?" I asked, my voice distorted, no longer entirely my own. Solomon looked at me, his eyes wide with a dawning understanding. "Yes, it's as if the equations have become part of us. The anomaly is rewriting everything we thought we knew about existence." "Then we have to stop the detonation," I said. "It's not just our world at stake. If those warheads go off, they'll tear through everything. I gestured to the rift, the pulsing darkness that loomed behind us, is the only chance to stabilize the convergence." As the minutes ticked down, my body continued to shift, morphing into something other, something that could exist between dimensions. Parker was gone, absorbed by the anomaly, his form now one with the ever-expanding black surface. But I could still feel his influence, his presence. "How much longer?" I asked, already knowing the answer. Solomon didn't need to check the timer. He was fully aware of what was at stake. "We have maybe 5 minutes. You need to stop it now, Miller." But I could feel the boundaries breaking, the fabric of reality beginning to unravel around us. "I can't stop it, but I can help stabilize it." His gaze turned sharp. You're not fully one of them, are you?" I shook my head. "No, but I understand now. The architects, they aren't the enemy. They need us to bridge the gaps between realities. If I can hold the convergence long enough, it might give us a chance." The last tremor ripped through the facility, and a deep, unsettling roar echoed through the rift, as though the very foundation of reality was protesting against the change. I could hear Harmon and Rodriguez scrambling in the distance, their voices carried by the vibrations. "Rodriguez!" Harmon's voice broke through the chaos. "We need to hurry." The sound of a sudden, violent crash interrupted him, and then the unmistakable noise of automatic weapons fire. "No," Solomon whispered, his face pale. "They're here." Through the haze of shifting dimensions, I could see the security team, their silhouettes distorted as they fought against a collapsing structure. I couldn't let them destroy everything. Solomon grabbed my arm. "Miller!" But before he could finish, I concentrated, pulling the energy of the anomaly into myself, focusing it through the stone that had become part of me. The equations that filled my mind began to twist, rearranging into new patterns, and reality itself bent around me. I could see beyond the walls of the facility, glimpsing infinite planes that coexisted just outside our perception. I raised my hand, sending the equations into the air, where they hovered and pulsed with energy, visible only to those who could understand their meaning. "Stop the countdown," I said, my voice reverberating in multiple frequencies. "The nuclear protocol will collapse us all." The equations danced in the air in front of Solomon, and for a moment he was silent, his eyes searching for a way to read them. Finally, his face softened with the recognition that there was no turning back. "We need more time," he said. "We need to get to level 8. A final, earth-shattering tremor shook the foundation of the facility, and the countdown reached its final seconds. Solomon moved, fast as his aging body would allow, toward the path that would lead to the override. I felt my consciousness fragment again, but this time, the pain was different. It was a realization that this was my purpose. The architects needed us, and we had become part of something far greater than ourselves. I reached out, focusing every ounce of energy I could muster, and felt the rift stabilize for a brief moment. "Get to the override," I said one last time, my voice echoing. "Now." "I am still here," I communicated, my voice not just through sound, but as a cascade of equations forming in the air before them. I had become something else, but my essence, my purpose, those remain unchanged. I am a bridge now between dimensions, between the past and future, between humanity and whatever comes next. Rodriguez seemed to absorb the weight of my words. His expression conflicted. So, you're still Thomas Miller, but you're not? What happens when we leave this place? When the world beyond the zone is still just what it was? Outside the convergent zone, nothing will appear changed, I replied. The integration is subtle, gradual. But within this zone, and with the architect's guidance, we will shape the future. Humanity will have the choice. Those who embrace the new reality will evolve with it. Those who don't will continue on as they are, unaware of what lies just beyond the veil. Harmon folded his arms, thinking, so, you're saying we're dealing with a new form of evolution, not the next stage of humanity, but a parallel existence. Yes, I confirmed. Parallel, but intertwined. The boundaries between worlds are no longer as rigid. Some will adapt, some will resist, but the world will slowly merge in ways no one expected. Not just people, Solomon added, his voice taking on a note of melancholy. The very fabric of reality itself is changing. I turned my awareness back to the facility, feeling the pulse of energy stabilizing, the dimensional boundaries shifting. The process was not complete, but it was far from the cataclysmic, and it could have been. The architects had found their haven, not through force, but through collaboration. They had taught us something profound. That convergence was not a battle, but a union. Yes, I said, speaking to all of them. And this union, this choice, this is a first step. What happens next is up to us. Harmon nodded. And I guess we'll figure out how to manage this gradually. Solomon walked over to the nearest wall, his fingers lightly tracing the crystalline formations, as though trying to understand the language of the universe itself. It's both terrifying and exhilarating. We've crossed the threshold, literally and figuratively. I felt a surge of connection, an almost inexplicable awareness of what it meant to be on the brink of something greater. I was no longer merely human, but I still carried that spark of humanity within me. I was something new, something that could bridge the gap between these two realities, guiding others if they chose to join me. Rodriguez glanced around the room, his usual stoic demeanor softened by a sense of awe. What now, Miller? For now, I said, we manage the convergence, and we prepare for what comes next. The architect will guide us, but the future we build will be our own. The tension that had hung over us since the beginning of the transformation seemed to ease, replaced by a quiet understanding. We were no longer just a group of soldiers and scientists caught in a crisis. We were part of something much larger, a new reality, a new beginning. As the dimensional lattice completed its final adjustments, the facility hummed with a quiet energy. The architect's presence was felt, but they remained distant, observing, waiting for us to make the next move. We have time, I said, looking at them, but not much. The world beyond the zone may not know the truth yet, but that doesn't mean we should wait too long to reveal it. Harmon looked at me, his expression thoughtful. And when the time comes, you'll be there with us? Yes, I said, I will be. With the final activation of the stabilization matrix, the facility became a nexus of interconnected realities. We had achieved what once seemed impossible, a controlled convergence, not of worlds, but of possibilities. And as the boundary between dimensions stabilized, we stood at the threshold of a new age. But the question remained, hanging in the air like an unspoken truth. What would humanity choose when it truly understood the power it now held? This passage serves as a profound reflection on the nature of transformation and evolution, both personal and collective. The contrast between the human Miller and his transformed, multidimensional self represents the tension between the old self and the potential for a new identity, while Parker's evolution into the primary anchor reflects the theme of voluntary surrender and the willingness to embrace a higher purpose in the face of a reality-altering event. Harmon's small, human gesture of straightening his uniform highlights the stark contrast between the normalcy of pre-convergence life and the unfathomable scale of change the characters are undergoing. It reminds us that Despite the immense and terrifying power of the convergence, there is still a part of these individuals that clings to what's familiar and comfortable, humanity's need for grounding, even in the most extraordinary of circumstances. The narrative touches deeply on themes of choice and agency. The characters are not just passive subjects of the convergence, but active participants in shaping how it unfolds. The idea that humanity must decide how to engage with this new multidimensional reality gives the story a sense of agency that resonates with real-world philosophical questions about evolution, identity, and progress. Moreover, the philosophical and existential undertones of the passage reflect a key concept: humanity's fear of the unknown and its accompanying resistance to change, yet also the possibility that embracing that change can lead to the next phase of existence. It reminds the characters and the readers that the greatest transformations come not just from external events, but from the internal decisions we make about how to navigate those events. The sense of loss in Miller's transformation, whereas humanity is no longer a dominant force, yet is still a part of him, creates a tension that underscores the inherent difficulty of his journey. The closing note that the convergence is beautiful is a poignant message of hope, portraying it not as an unavoidable catastrophe, but as a beautiful, if complex, opportunity for growth and understanding. As the narrative progresses, it presents the powerful idea that humanity's evolution is not about shedding its past, but integrating and transcending it, embracing the potential for expansion into unknown realms of consciousness. The convergence may be inevitable, but how humanity faces it, and whether they can learn to embrace this next step, is what will truly define the future. In essence, this passage underscores a core theme of your story: the exploration of evolution, not just in a physical or scientific sense, but as a journey of self-discovery and collective growth, driven by humanity's innate curiosity and desire to understand, adapt, and push beyond the known.